like I said, like the pain that you feel right now is normal, but I think it's not even close to what's coming, the joy that's coming, So I think obviously there's nothing guaranteed. You got to, keep putting your foot forward and work on it, but it's very encouraging with, not just the talent that we have, but to me what's more at the front of that is the individuals that we have. We have great humans, and it's a fun group to lead.
That's Canadiens coach Marty St. Louis after the Habs loss and elimination from the playoffs last night. It's good to know we have good humans on the team. Sure, there's some disappointment here, but then again, reality is, this is a team that's been fighting all year, and as has been pointed out repeatedly, back in December before the break, they were 31 out of 32, were second to worst, record in the NHL, and came back to find themselves in the playoffs. And some would argue could have won any game in this series. That's how close it was. So let's take a look back and a look forward. Stu Cowan is Montreal Gazette sports reporter. He's on the line. Hey, Stu.
Yeah, how you doing, Aaron?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for the time this afternoon. Let me ask you, you cover this team all year long. First of all, let's deal with last night. Again, one of those games could have gone either way. Maybe after that Ovechkin goal off the faceoff, a little concerned, but it was a one-goal game pretty late. So what happened last night? Did we do better? Did we not? And what happened?
Yeah, I mean, it was a 5-game series, and it would seem, winning 5 games in a best-of-7 wasn't close, but it was close. I mean, they were in every game. A break here and there, and they could have easily been 2-2 going into that game last night. But Washington took advantage of their opportunities to score, and they showed why they were the second best team in the NHL during the regular season. They're a bigger team than the Canadiens. They're a better team than the Canadiens, and they're a much more experienced team. Average age on the Capitals is 29, and the average age on the Canadiens is 26. They're the youngest team to make the playoffs. So they made a series out of it, and you remember back at the start of the season, the goal was to be in the mix for a playoff spot. They went beyond that and actually got into the playoffs and gave the second best team in the NHL a pretty good run for their money before coming up short.
So let me ask, it's easy, of course, to play Monday morning quarterback now, but you mentioned one thing that struck me, which is the fact that they got out hit, I think it's fair to say, in this series, and they lack some big guys. And, that was one of the things, and I'm not just talking about Tom Wilson, but I think overall, they can use some size on this team. Could they not, at least offensively?
They definitely could. I mean, Chris Nyland, I speak with him quite regularly, and he keeps saying, they need more men, and they really do. And we saw that. I mean, the Tom Wilson hit on Alexander Carrier was a turning point in the series. The Habs were up 2-1 at the time in Game 4, and then Washington scored, I think it was 16 seconds later. The Habs were down to 5 defensemen the rest of the game, and Washington went on to win. So Josh Anderson did a pretty good job of trying to handle Tom Wilson. You all remember that fight in the bench at the end of the second period at the game at the Bell Center. But they need more big bodies, without a doubt. Like, to win in the playoffs, you need size. And that's something that's never changed. And the way the officiating changes, and as frustrating as it is for fans, that's the way it is in the NHL. And guys get away with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And go back to 2021 when the Canadiens made it all the way to the Stanley Cup final. If you remember, they had the 4 Clydesdales that were called in defense. They had the 4 big guys with Weber and Sherratt and those guys back there. They were all over 6'3", 200 pounds, and you need those guys in the playoffs. It doesn't mean you can't win with a Lane Hudson and you can't win with a Cole Caulfield. Cole Caulfield scored 3 goals in this series, but you need to surround them with bigger guys and more physical guys. And Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes are smart guys. They know that, and they'll be addressing that during the offseason. They already have a big guy down in Laval and Florian Jacki, who was Arber's brother, and they have a big defenseman in Logan Mayo also. So there's guys in the system that can fill that role. But, they've had a plan right from day one, and going into the offseason, they have 2 first-round draft picks. They'll have money for the free agent market, so they're in a position where they can add the pieces that they're going to need to take the next step forward next year.
Who are we unlikely to see come back? When you look at some of the names here, perhaps not as familiar. Everybody knows, Cole Caulfield. Everybody knows, Nick Suzuki. Some of the lesser lights, though, not contributing a whole lot on offense. Are they likely to stay or go, do you think?
Well, David Savard definitely leaving. I mean, he announced for the season that he was retiring, and he was in tears at the end of the game, a 14-year veteran. I don't think Yoel Armia will be back. Christian Dvorak, I'm not sure, although the way he played down the stretch, they might look at re-signing him depending on what the money is. And the big question mark, too, is Patrick Laine, who missed the last 3 games with what the Canes were saying was an upper body injury. Does he fit into this team's plans moving forward? He's been benched a couple of times earlier. He has 1 more season left at his contract at about $9 million. So those are all things in the offseason that they'll figure out. The team will look different next year. There's no doubt about it. And the other thing Marty St. Louis said, and he's very right, there's no guarantee this team will be back in the playoffs next season, even if they are a little bit better. 32-team NHL with a salary cap. There's a lot of good hockey teams in this league. A lot of the parity is there, and just getting into the playoffs is a real accomplishment in this league. And I know for older guys like you and I, Aaron, we grew up when the Stanley Cup parade would take the usual route, but those days are gone. I mean, that 1970s dynasty team never would have existed in a 32-team salary cap league. So even though the Canadiens, they should be better next year, you're going to have Ivan Demonov for the whole year next year. If they could find a second-line center during the offseason, which is, I think, the biggest hole they have, they'll be better, but it still doesn't guarantee they're going to get into the playoffs.
I want to ask a question. You just mentioned Demidov, and of course, such a big deal was made about him coming here, getting out of his, the Russians letting him come here to play. And I couldn't help but wondering to myself, I mean, he was okay in the run. Not amazing, but so much was sort of put on his shoulders without any NHL experience at all. Did we make a mistake expecting that much from him?
Well, I think people made a mistake when they thought, he's going to come in here next season and score 40 goals. I mean, he's a 19-year-old kid from Russia, still learning how to speak English, a big adjustment coming over here, no doubt. But, I mean, you see right away, the skill level that this guy has. I mean, he's an elite hockey player. Adjusting to the NHL is tough for anybody, especially a teenager. But he's going to be good. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt he's going to be a really, really good hockey player. And another reason for optimism moving forward, you look at the Canadiens' power play and the five guys they have out there. Nick Suzuki's the oldest guy at 25. You got Suzuki, you got Caulfield, you got Slavkovsky, you got Hudson, and you got Demidov. Demonov's only 19. So that's a power play that's going to be together for a long time moving forward. And as Mike Matheson said when I was asking about it a couple of days ago, he said, you look at all the best power plays in the NHL, and they're all guys that have been together for a long time that are really highly skilled. And the Canadiens have that now. And for Demidov, from what I saw of him, he's going to be a really good hockey player in the NHL. I think 20 goals probably is a realistic thing for him next season, but he has the potential to be a real star in this league.
So to your point a minute ago, Stu, but you know what? This team, it's in a rebuild. We all sort of bought into that and figured when you're in a rebuild, it takes a while. It's not going to happen in a year or two. Can we say we overachieved this year?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, at the golf tournament last September, Laval sur le Lac, when they, management all came out, Molson and Gordon and Hughes all came out, and they had, the in the mix, that was the slogan. I wrote a column at the time saying it's a reasonable goal to set for this season. I thought just being in the mix and playing some meaningful games down the stretch would be good, and I wrote a column saying I don't think they were good enough this season to get there. And that was even if Patrick Laine had been healthy from the start of the season. So they overachieved. They had ups and downs, which is understandable with a young team, but they bounced back every single time. And, they won a lot of big games they had to win down the stretch. And that's the experience from that moving forward will be huge, as well as the experience getting into the playoffs. And a guy, we're talking about size, and a guy like Wayne Hudson or guys who've never been in the NHL playoffs, just realizing just how physical and how demanding and how tough it is to win games in the playoffs. So moving forward, they know that now, and that's going to really help them as this team continues to grow.
I would just ask one question, going back to the Washington series. I was watching some video of some of the hits in this series. Most of them came by Washington, and I wondered to myself, and I think the referees got a little tougher after that whole incident on the bench, right, with Tom Wilson and Josh
Josh Anderson.
Yeah, sorry. What did you think of the hits in this series? Should there have been more penalties called? They seem to get away with an awful lot. The
Canadiens didn't lose because of the referees. I mean, refereeing in the...
Hold on. Are you sure we didn't lose because of the referees?
But refereeing in the playoffs it's horrible. I mean, there's no consistency. What is called a penalty on one hit is not called a penalty when you see the same thing again. Right. And it's frustrating for fans and it's frustrating for players. But, bad calls go both ways. The hits were actually pretty even throughout the series. The difference was that the Washington guys throwing the hits were bigger than some of the Canadiens guys throwing the hits, and they were more impactful. Going back to that one that Tom Wilson threw on Alexandre Carrier. Tom Wilson's 225 pounds, and I wrote a column this week. I saw him after the game in T-shirt and shorts, and he's built like an NFL tight end, and he's a big, strong guy. And Carrier is like 175 pounds, and it was I thought it was a clean hit. Some Canadiens fans disagreed. It was a predatory hit. He was trying to, I don't want to say he was trying to hurt him, but he was trying to flatten him. And it was a turning point in the series. And that's the NHL playoffs. And you can't count on the referees in the playoffs because they're so unpredictable. You don't know what they're going to call, what they're not going to call, and it's never going to change because Gary Bettman maintains that the NHL has the best officials in all of sports. So if you won't admit you have a problem, you're not going to do anything to fix it. You compare that with the NFL and some of the changes they try and make to their officials as far as more video review right after a play and things like that. And the NHL just it's sort of that old boys league, and they just believe that they have great referees. And the thing is too, in defense of the rest, the game is so fast. Like, people were slowing that Tom Wilson hit down, and if you go in slow motion, it looks like he hit him in the head. And they did make contact in the head, but when you're watching it at full speed, his shoulder's down, it's a clean hit, he's driving through it, and as he came up, he caught him in the head. But refereeing in the NHL is a problem, but the NHL doesn't think it is, so it's not going to change.
Yeah, well, let me offer this to Gary Bettman then, in case he's listening. Go ahead, Brian.
I'm blind. I'm deaf. I want to be a ref. I'm blind. I'm deaf.
All right.
I want to be a ref.
Thank you very much. I'll send that to Gary Bettman.
The favorite chant at the Bell Center, instead of ole, ole, it's become ref, you suck.
Oh, that's good to know. All right. Hey, Stu, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Okay, Aaron, no problem.
Stu Cowan, Montreal Gazette sports reporter. So, yeah, looking forward to what will be a good season again next year, I guess, fair to say, since a lot of the right pieces are in place.